The Three Branches of Government, an introduction to this week's lessons. The Constitution laid the framework for the three branches of government that we have today: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. The framers didn't want any one branch to have too much power, so they put checks and balances in place so that the branches would hold each other accountable. Over time, some branches have claimed more power than was intended, like when Abraham Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus during the Civil War. The writ of habeas corpus ensures that a person is not unlawfully held by the government. But here, Lincoln declares that during the current insurrection, obviously the Civil War, people supporting the rebel cause or not volunteering to join the U.S. military would be subject to martial law and liable to trial and punishment by the courts. Since the country was at war, Lincoln basically did away with the civil court procedures. Later, Congress passed a law that upheld Lincoln's proclamation to declare martial law until the conclusion of the war. One of the other major instances of overreach was when the Supreme Court made judicial review, which is not mentioned in the Constitution, a part of the lawmaking process. Although to say that judicial review was outside of the intent of the framers is unfair. Hamilton did discuss the possibility of judicial review in one of the Federalist Papers, but it wasn't in the Constitution and didn't become commonplace until 1803 and the case of Marbury versus Madison. You will learn more about all of that later. This week, you will work through 4 lessons, this introductory lesson that gives you an overview of the 3 branches of government, and then 1 lesson about each branch of government. We will focus most heavily on the legislative branch, since representatives and senators are elected, and this is an election class. For the executive branch, we will mostly explore the parts of the executive branch that aren't the president, namely the president's cabinet and the bureaucracies that support the cabinet appointees. We will discuss the role of the president more heavily next week in Module 3. Finally, we will touch on the judicial system so that you will have a complete picture of how the government works. Up next is a graphic for you to study, and an overview video where you will learn about the basic powers and checks and balances of the 3 branches of the U.S. government.